Hi, I'm Snez, personal trainer, healthy lifestyle coach, and your guide to feeling your best. This podcast is a segment from my weekly radio show, Wellbeing Wednesdays, broadcast live on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM. It's all about sharing real, practical tips to help you move more, eat better, and live healthier without the overwhelm. Let's dive in, shall we? Coming up next, going to be talking about strength training and in particular muscle building. And we're not talking about bodybuilders anymore. We're talking about absolutely everybody. Strength training seems to be the fitness secret it's like it's everywhere. Well, not only are we hearing about it in terms of the benefits of older adults as we get older, in terms of bone health, cognitive decline, but it's all over the headlines. And I only recently saw an article about David Beckham, for example, and he's 50 and it said he's never looked or felt better or been as strong in his life. And I sort of had a read of that article. It was in the Body and Soul. Had a read of that article and thought, okay, well, what is he doing? And it was just the basics, strength training. And it was really interesting. I found that at the peak of his career, he didn't do a lot of strength training. Now, I know that has changed a lot with athletes because we're seeing the benefits of strength training even within our athletes. But he said a lot of it was cardio, which I can understand with his sport, but also that he predominantly did, or the strength training that he did was just in his legs. There wasn't a lot of upper body. And so now he's fully embraced strength training and feeling amazing. But we know this is what's getting me, is that we've always known that the body will respond, but we're starting to hear a lot more about it. And I absolutely love that because I've been in gyms since the age of 14. I have never parted with my dumbbells or with my weights my whole entire adult life in different forms and shapes. I've obviously owned my own gyms for a long time, but I have been member of gyms in the past as well. But one thing that I do know I always do is I always have a set of dumbbells in my room somewhere next to my bed, where if I feel like I haven't been active enough, or sometimes I'll just push out some pullovers and some shoulder presses and some squats and lunges with some heavy weights. But it is absolutely everywhere. We're hearing about it from J-Lo, from Chris Hemsworth. They're all very much getting into it and producing some stunning bodies and some stunning strength. Now, when I say bodies, obviously there's the aesthetic appearance, but for me, it's more about functional bodies and what we can do with our bodies as we get older. And I think that's what's really fabulous. It's not just about looking good with strength training, but it's about feeling quite unstoppable across all areas of your life, no matter your age. And I think that's what's really valuable. So if you are wanting to get in on this magnificent new body of information that we are getting and this new swell towards strength training, that I think it's really important to understand the way that we actually develop muscles, because it's not just about starting off at the gym. And depending on the type of body shape we have, our natural genetics, it's going to vary how strong we can actually get. But it is really important to understand that there are some steps that you need to take outside of just starting with your strength training. And the most important thing to understand is that muscles only grow when they're challenged. So lifting weights or resistance bands or even body weight exercises like squats and push-ups can challenge us and signal our bodies to adapt to the new pressure, the new stressor in the form of exercise that we are putting on our bodies. And the benefits of muscle mass aren't just, as I said, looking better, but also what they do to our health and our wellness. And extra muscle mass will boost your metabolism and makes fat loss easier because you're burning more calories, as well as another whole host of changes that occur when we build muscle mass. It also protects our bones. It lowers our risk of osteoporosis. It improves our posture. It helps to strengthen our back, and it can reduce back and neck pain. It can give us a feeling of greater confidence as well, especially if we're more able in our day-to-day lives. And it's functional strength as well that's really really important, such as lifting grandkids, gardening, moving furniture. Life just becomes a lot easier, carrying groceries, all of that sort of thing. So the thing is to make sure that we are including at least 2 to 3 strength sessions per week. So that's the first thing, is that we need to stimulate muscles regularly enough so that they're given a really good reason to adapt and to grow thicker in fibre as well as multiply fibres. And that will come when the body feels it needs to create an adaptation to a new stressor or a new behaviour that's occurring regularly in our lives. If you do, one session a month, it's not going to make that much of a difference. This is about being consistent, and it's about convincing your body that it needs to adapt, because growing more muscle and sustaining muscle takes resources, it takes fuel, it takes energy, it takes nutrients, and the body will only do it unless it has a really good reason to do it. So the first thing is to make sure, yes, that you are including strength sessions 2 to 3 times a week. They don't have to be long, but they need to be consistently stimulating the muscles. The next thing we need to make sure that we are doing, the next key in building muscle mass, is we need to push beyond our comfort. And if you're doing the same thing or the same weight over long periods of time, once your body creates the initial adaptation to be able to achieve that weight, it will not change from there. Muscles will only grow when you overload them progressively, and that means lifting a little heavier, doing a few more reps, or slowing down to increase the control and make that movement that little bit more challenging. And what happens when we continuously or progressively overload our body, it prevents plateaus. It keeps your workout stimulating because you're always being challenged, but it's also going to encourage your muscles to respond favorably and increase in strength and in size. And that's definitely something that we are wanting to do. So the second thing that you need to think about, other than just adding those strength training sessions in each week, is making sure that you are making it challenging for yourself. So we want to make sure that we are getting to a point where we are struggling through the last 2 to 3 repetitions of any exercise. And if you are not, then you need to rethink your exercise, whether you can lift something heavier or change the exercise completely. So once we've got the exercise component of it nailed, the next thing that you need to be mindful of in order to get those gains of strength and improved body composition is to think of protein as the building blocks for your muscles. And if you aren't going to consume enough protein in your day, then you cannot expect your body to grow stronger if you're not going to give it those building blocks and those raw materials that it needs to rebuild that muscles that you've worked. So making sure that you are adding protein in throughout your day. So it's going to repair your muscles after training. It's also going to keep you feeling fuller for longer, which means you can reduce your calorie consumption through carbohydrate, which means that you're going to burn a lot more of that stored fat and start to reveal some of this muscle that potentially is hiding underneath some layers of body fat, which is very, very encouraging in what you want to do. And the other thing is it's going to help to maintain your muscle mass by including the protein, which is naturally going to decline after the age of 40. So we're going to counteract some of that decline. So how much protein to take in? About 1.6 to 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. So you can do the rough sums and start to add protein into your day. The most important bit of advice that I've got for you when you are adding extra protein into your day is to make sure that you are including it regularly. So you don't want to just have a big steak at dinner time. You want to make sure that you are getting protein for breakfast, protein at your snacks, protein at lunch. So every time you are consuming food, there needs to be an element of protein there. The next step in being able to get stronger and grow more more muscle mass is recovery. And this is the area that is oftentimes overlooked, but this is where the magic happens. So strength gains do not actually occur in the gym. So the disturbance and the imposing the pressure on the muscles happens in the gym, but where our muscles do actually grow and thicken and get stronger is actually in our rest. And training stresses our muscles, whereas rest allows them to repair stronger than before. And we need to make sure that we're getting adequate recovery in terms of quality of sleep, so getting our 7 to 9 hours, plus making sure that we are getting a rest day, as well as thinking of getting some active rest with some gentle walking or stretching or yoga, as well as we mentioned the nutrition, protein, but all those essential vitamins and minerals that our body needs, and making sure that you are hydrating your body. So when you increase in muscle mass, you also increase the amount of water in your body, which means that you really need to attend to the amount of water that you are drinking to be able to look after this muscle mass. So the thing is that we need to think of when we're thinking about recovery, you need to think of training like sowing the seeds, and then the recovery is like the water and the sunlight. And without them, it's not going to actually grow. So the thing is, you don't need to be perfect with your workouts. They don't need to be long. You don't need any fancy equipment. You just need to be regular, and you need to just push your muscles beyond comfort. So if you find that doing 10 squats, getting down to the chair and coming back up again is quite the challenge, then that's going to be enough to stimulate the muscles to respond. So even 20 minutes, if done consistently 2 or 3 times a week, it's going to beat one big workout followed by weeks off. So the body needs to be stimulated regularly. I think that's an important aspect to understand. But building strength is like compounding interest. You need to do small, steady deposits over time, which are going to create some big results. And remembering that you can gain muscle mass at any age. And I'm scanning up through a body composition scan members in their 80s, and they are still increasing muscle mass. This is men and women of all ages can still increase in muscle mass. So if you want a stronger body, one that looks more toned, has more energy, and also lets you to keep living your life on your terms as you get older, think about training your muscles, making sure you're challenging yourself to progress with progressive overload. Make sure that you're fueling with recovery and then, fueling with protein, and then making sure that you are including your recovery through rest periods, quality sleep and hydration. And those 4 elements together will definitely lead you in the direction of the gains a lot quicker than skipping any one of those elements. So if muscle mass is important to you, make sure that you do include those 4 elements.
Thanks for joining me on this segment from Wellbeing Wednesdays, as heard live on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who might find it helpful, and subscribe so you never miss a show. Want to catch the live broadcast? Well, you can tune in Wednesdays from 12 till 2 p.m. on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM, or find my info on Wellbeing Wednesdays with Snez, the Facebook group. Take care, stay healthy, and remember, it's the little choices every day that create big changes. Talk soon.